Fourth installment of the Algebra 2 Honors 25-26 midterm review. Got through 28 of the 49 questions so far. Let's just see where we get today. A local bakery is launching a new line of gourmet cupcakes. The daily profit P in thousands of dollars, pay attention to that, is modeled by this equation, where X is the number of dozens of cupcakes sold per day. The bakery wants to ensure that the daily revenue, which is the same as saying profit, is at least 144,000. But you see how it says in thousands? What that means is we're actually looking at an equation like this. 60x minus 4x squared is greater than or equal to, and not 144,000, 144. It says, which of the following are reasonable constraints? That just means what x's are going to make this happen. So to Desmos we go, and I'm just going to type this, 60x minus 4x squared greater than or equal to 144. 60x minus 4x squared greater than or equal to 144. Just grab your screen, shift it over, and what you can see is everything from 3 to 12 inclusive, because it's got the equal to bar, makes sense. So our answer is C. Thank you, Desmos. Now I didn't clear Desmos of that equation because this question is using the exact same thing. What it wants to know is, why can't we just say that x is less than or equal to 12 and select all of these that are truths? Well, go back to your image, and why can't you just say that x is less than or equal to 12? For one, you can't have a negative number of cupcakes. So to say x is less than or equal to 12 allows you to say x is negative 1 dozen cupcakes. That makes no sense at all. And another reason why you can't just say that x is less than or equal to 12 is because that means that, according to that statement, 1 dozen cupcakes is good. But what we can see is 1 dozen cupcakes is not good. It must include the greater than or equal to 3. So let's read these things. The bakery can sell more than 12 dozen cupcakes per day. I mean, they could, but you saw from Desmos that if you go for more than 12 dozen, unfortunately, you're outside of the shade of purple zone, so that makes no sense for us. A negative amount of cupcakes doesn't make sense. You're right, it does not. Selling 12 to 15 dozen cupcakes also gets you this profit. No, it doesn't. We just saw that you can only go from 3 to 12. Selling up to 3 dozen, that means 0, 1, 2, and 3 dozen cupcakes, does not result in the money we need. You're right, it doesn't. Selling between 3 and 12 does not, that's utter ridiculousness, because selling between 3 and 12 is exactly what we needed. So it makes no sense because negative cupcakes are a no-no, and anything between 0 and 3 dozen is also a no-no. Awesome. Next, let's walk away from cupcakes. We're going to use this quadratic function, for the next 2 questions. Don't mind this number typo here. This is clearly wrong. It's from these 2 right here. We could, know how to do this stuff, or we could just cheese it and go to Desmos, x squared plus 4x plus 3. So, I'm just going to cheese it. X squared plus 4x plus 3. The first question wants to know where the value of the y-intercept is. It's there, 3. The next question wants to know what the y-value of the vertex is, negative 1. So 3 is the y-intercept, and negative 1 is the y-value of the vertex. 3 was the y-intercept, and now I forgot what I wrote, or what I said. Was it negative 3? Can't stinking remember. Negative 1 is the y-value of the vertex. There you go. Desmos. Just in case, if you want to know how to do this by hand, if you're on the y-intercept, you're on the y-axis, which means x equals 0. So if you put a 0 there and a 0 there, you get 0 plus 0 plus 3. And if you would like to know the y-value of the vertex, well, you'd have to find the vertex. So first you'd have to do x equals negative b over 2a, which is negative 4 over 2 times 1, or x equals negative 2. Then you'd have to take that negative 2 and you'd have to substitute it right there. You'd make sure you use parentheses and you would get this answer. Or just put it on Desmos and get your 2 answers. Level 5 question, word problem. Tila was eating lunch when she saw her friend Jory approach. The room was crowded, and Jory had to lift his tray to avoid obstacles. Suddenly, a glass on Jory's tray lunch tipped and fell off the tray. The height, y, in feet of the glass, x seconds after it was dropped, is given by this model. So x is time in seconds, y is height of the glass. It wants to know what the y coordinate of the vertex represents. Let's put it on Desmos just so you can see the picture. Negative 16. You know what? Now I'll go ahead and put it on Desmos. Negative 16x squared plus 2x plus 4.5. Helps if you type first. Negative 16x squared plus 2. I said 2x plus 4.5. Okay. Let's see, you can pinch and zoom. I'm just going to stretch it out. Great. It says, what does the y value of the vertex represent? Well, remember, x is time. Y is height. This is a maximum of our graph. So this represents the maximum height. Height of the glass, the highest height. There it is. That's it. The times would have been x values. So height of the glass in feet of the tray right before it tipped, that would mean 0 time. So that would be the y-intercept, so 4.5 feet off the ground. Time in seconds it took for the glass to hit the floor. If we go back to the graph, hitting the floor gets you a height of 0, so it'll take you 0.5965 seconds for it to hit the floor. The time in seconds when the glass reached its highest height. Well, time is an x, so that is this value. But anyway, it said the y value of the vertex. I just wanted you to see what they all were. And we go home. There we go. Okay. I'm not going to lie. Question 34 is a monster. It took me quite a while to figure out how to do it. I'll be real with you, okay? And actually, I think I got it wrong the first time I tried it because what I did made no sense. I'm going to do my best to explain it and hope it makes sense. It says, an artist sold 400 glass figurines last year for $60 each. The artist wants to increase her profit margin this year, but predicts that each $5 increase in price will reduce the number of figurines sold by 10. The artist wants to make a total profit, which, by the way, is the same as profit margin and all that stuff. If the artist wants to make a total profit of at least $32,000, which inequality can be used to determine the possible number of price increases needed? And that was what you have to pay attention to the most, the number of price increases. What that means is X is a number of increases. So here's how I tackled it. I said, figurines times their cost equals revenue. We know originally figurines was 400. Originally their cost was 60. Our revenue is going to be affected by the number of price increases. So figurines was 400. Cost of figurines was 60. We know we want our revenue to be at least, so greater than or equal to 32,000. There we go. So it's a number of price increases. So X is a number of them. But every time we have a price increase, it increases by $5. So this is going to be 60 plus 5X. And every time we have a price increase, we lose 10 figurines. Now, you have to go ahead and go through distribution or foiling process, whatever you want to call it. 400 times 60 is going to give you 24,000. 400 times 5 is 2,000, but there's an X. Negative 10 times 60 is negative 600, but there's an X. And negative 10 times 5 is negative 50, but it's X times X. Combining your like terms and writing it in standard form, we have a negative 50x squared. Ooh, go home, 5, you're drunk. A negative 50x squared These are like terms. 2,000 minus 600 is 1,400. And if you subtract 32,000 from this side, you have 24,000 minus 32,000, you get minus 8,000. And that's how you tackle that question. So which answer is that? It is C. Desmos will not save you for that one. That's a tough question. But it is a level 5. You know, it happens. You know what Desmos will do for you? Well, shoot. I just realized this is the freaking answer. Well, whatever. Let's just pretend the answer wasn't here, okay? Solve absolute value x minus 3 plus 7 is less than or equal to 15. So I'm going to go to Desmos and boop. Absolute value structure is here. Absolute value of x minus 3. Click it one more time. Plus 7. And then we have less than or equal to 15. And what you can see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, is that your answers go from, why won't it let me select this? Well, you can see your answers go from negative 5 to positive 11. And because it has an equal to bar, that would be a colored dot. So only the x-axis would be shaded from negative 5 to positive 11. And you would do that. The answer's already there. This one doesn't have the answer already here, thank goodness. Let's put it on Desmos. X plus 3, absolute, minus 7 is greater than 5. X plus 3, I'm just going to try and change this one. Minus 7, actually let's do this, let's see. Minus 7 is greater than 5. Zoom out. Remember, you can pinch. There we go, we can see our answers. Looks like answers are less than negative 15 as well as greater than 9. Less than 15 and greater than negative 15? Less than negative 15, greater than positive 9. Less than negative 15, greater than positive 9. Woohoo, Desmos. This one also has the stinking answer on it, which is absolutely ridiculous. But let's just pretend for a minute it didn't and talk about what you were supposed to do. It says create the equation that you see here. This one would have been the only one that was filled in. You would have had to have chosen something here, 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 and here. So here's what the original question would have looked like. It would have given you f of x equals absolute x, absolute, and it would have been looking for you to fill in 5 blanks. A blank here, 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 and here. And basically the way you do this is understand transformations and notice where your vertex is. This vertex is at, if this counts by 1, 2, 3, 3 comma, 1, 2, 3, negative 3. Shift right 3, horizontal, inside, so that's going to be in here, opposite. So if you want to go right 3, you would think that's plus 3, but it's opposite. It's not going to be plus 3. It's going to be minus 3. And then if you need to go down 3, because the vertex should have been there. So we've gone right 3, down 3, vertical, outside, same. That's how you would have done it. That's it. Heil-Voss, horizontal, inside, opposite of what you think. Going to the right is subtracting. Vertical, outside, same. Going down is subtracting. Okay. Question 38, once again, has the stinking answer there. Whatever. Let's just read it and talk about it. The packaging of a thermometer claims that the thermometer is accurate within 1.5 degrees of the actual temperature. That means it could be down 1.5, it could be up 1.5. The point is, the temperature actual and the temperature reading can only be off by 1.5. Write and solve an absolute value equation to find the least and greatest possible temperature if the thermometer reads 87.4. So the reason why you have an absolute value here is because we don't care if we're up 1.5 or down 1.5. We just know the distance between the actual and the reading is 1.5. So that's why it has an absolute value bar like that. So actual minus reading, this could be 1.5 bigger than 87.4, which would be 87.4 plus 1.5, 88.9. Or it could be 1.5 less than 87.4, so you would just do 87.4 minus 1.5, and that's how you get the 85.9. Or if you weren't comfortable understanding that math, like I just said, you could just type it on Desmos and see what its smallest and highest are. The hard part would have been coming up with the equation. But anytime you talk about something is within a certain number and it doesn't say up or down, you must use absolute values. And the difference of what you're talking about would always go there. All right, now this one, Desmos doesn't help you, and this one is really designed to be confusing, and I think it's got a typo in it anyway, but it says, Tommy, C, is playing a game of pool. The 8-ball travels along the path that is modeled by y equals the absolute value of x minus 20. There it is. Each unit in the graph measures 1 inch. Fine, so this is 5 inches, 10 inches, 15 inches, so on and so forth. If the 8-ball starts at 5, 15, and I would have drawn it in black because 8 balls are black, but the picture's already black, so I wanted it to stand off. And it goes in the corner pocket at 40, 20. How far is the corner pocket from where the ball banks off the side 20, 0? Oh, it literally just wants to know this distance from this dot to this dot. It says how far apart are those two things. And this is not the answer, by the way. I don't even know why that's there. How do we do it? Well, first of all, none of this part of the picture matters. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a triangle. Specifically, a right triangle. From here to here, from 20 to 40, has a length of 20. From here to here, 0 to 20 has a length of 20, and I just need to know the distance. So you could either know your distance formula, which is on the reference sheet, I believe, or in the reference materials that are on the test somewhere in a button, something like that. Or you could just do the Pythagorean theorem that says a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is always the hypotenuse. So for us, that would be 20 squared plus 20 squared equals the distance between this spot and the pocket. On a calculator, this is going to be 400 plus 400 gives me 800. So I know distance squared is 800. Take the square root of both sides. Where's my green pen? Obviously, we can't have a negative distance, so I don't need to worry about the plus or minus. And if you want to reduce this, it's actually 400 times 2, because 400 is a perfect square. It gives us 20 root 2. Or you would just do square root of 800 on a calculator and get a number, but it didn't tell me how to round, so I'm thinking it wants to go with a perfect answer of 20 root 2. This is literally just reducing radicals. You would need to grab your calculator and start dividing 800 by big perfect squares. It would help if you knew that 400 is 20 times 20. But if you don't, you might, just work your way there. Worst case scenario, and we're talking worst case scenario, you could break your 800 into lots of squares. You could say it's 4 times 200, which is 4 times 50, which is 25 times 2. You could do that and say the square root of 4 comes out, it's a 2. The square root of 4 comes out, it's another 2. And the square root of 25 comes out, it's a 5. So on the outside, I'd have 2 times 2, which is 4, times 5, 20. And this 2 would be stuck. That's just a lot of work, though. And I think we're going to call it for this one. Right after this question, solve the system of equations, and we got ourselves a nice little short video again. Desmos to the rescue. The first equation is y equals x squared minus 2, and the other equation is y equals x minus 2, and you can see that these two things cross each other at 0, negative 2 and 1, negative 1. 0, negative 2, 1, negative 1. 0, comma, -2, 1, comma, -1, and that's what we're going to call it. Peace, folks.